Tom, real quick, media day for your May 12th show, 360 Promotions, Montebello. Can you just tell us about putting this card together and your main attraction, Callum Walsh?
Yeah, Callum's here. We're excited to be here at Freddy's Gym, at the Wildcard Gym, and May 12th and the Quiet Cannon at Montebello on UFC Fight Pass. We're wearing the Howler Head t-shirts, sponsored by Howler Head. They've supported Callum quite a bit, and Dana supported him, and we're just excited to have this show back on. We got some great fights lined up. Callum will be fighting an undefeated fighter. We got Jalen Walker fighting Adon Ochoa. That's a great fight.
Manny Pacquiao Jr.
Manny Pacquiao Jr. He's drawn a lot of interest. There'll be a lot of fans coming down there to see him fight. Chelsea Anderson, she's coming back in a great female fight. So Marco Deckman's here. It's going to be exciting on May 12th.
Tell us a little bit about Callum and this relationship with UFC Fight Pass, and Dana White has been showing a lot of support for Callum, obviously because he's in his platform, but Callum looks to be a real good fighter, very solid fighter. If anybody knows talent, it's you.
It's the first Irish fighter that I've worked with. I've worked with, from Ukraine, the Klitschko brothers, Kazakhstan, Triple G, naturally Chocolatito from Nicaragua, but the first Irish fighter that I've worked with. We're really excited about Callum. Freddie is real big on his talent and his future, and we met with Dana a couple times up there in Las Vegas, and he's excited. He sees the whole path. Naturally his experience with Conor McGregor, becoming one of the most popular fighters in UFC history. So we see a similar path for Callum. All Callum has to do, we'll do all the promotion for him. All Callum has to do is keep winning in the ring impressively, and then the sky's the limit for him.
So the Conor McGregor success could be somewhat of a blueprint for Callum.
Absolutely, yeah.
And,
Callum, we're going to bring him to, not to interrupt you, but we're going to bring him to Madison Square Garden next week. Katie Taylor is fighting against Toronto. It's the biggest female fight out there right now, headlining Madison Square Garden. So he's going to support Katie Taylor, but also with the Irish media. We have a great relationship with Madison Square Garden, naturally with all the shows we did there, and they're excited about having Callum fight there at some point in the future. So that'll be a great trip.
Tom, I got to ask you also as well about working with Golovkin. You were with him for his recent fight, his performance. After that so much time off, he still managed to do what he's supposed to do. How Canelo put it in his own words. Just your thoughts on how where Gennadi's at and heading into this potential third fight with Canelo.
It was exciting. We were there for a long time. We were there for 11 days, so it was a long trip. You had 16-hour time difference, but it was a sold-out arena. It was a huge event. Murata is very popular in Japan. Triple G is actually, pretty much a global superstar. So whenever Triple G goes somewhere to a different country, it's a huge reception. So people greeted him at the airport, when we were walking around the hotel. And it was exciting. He unified titles. He beat Murata as a WBA champion and beat him in style. He stopped him in the 9th round. It was an exciting fight. Murata was really competitive in the first few rounds, but then Triple G took over after the 6th round, and it was exciting to get another stoppage against a champion.
Yeah, anything in particular that has to take place aside from Canelo winning for a third fight to be made, like in terms of maybe weight, venue, things of that nature, percentages, if you want to speak on any of that?
That's the, not to get into any of the business deals, but that's the natural course right there. If Canelo wins, that's pretty much the biggest fight in boxing as the third fight right now, and that's the fans, because the first two were very controversial in the decisions. So Triple G is older. I think Canelo is at the point where he says, okay, he'll fight him a third time now, but you see that he lives very clean, he's in great shape, always stays active, and he hasn't lost his punch.
I think Gennadi's had like 3 fights since the last fight with Canelo, I believe.
I think this was the 4th fight.
And Canelo's had maybe like 6 or 7, I think. How do you feel them out as fighters now? In retrospect, who's gotten better? How do you see them now? Like,
you got to give Canelo a lot of credit. What he's done I think he learned a lot in both the Triple G fights, and he's taken that experience. And you saw what he did at Cato Plant. All the other great victories that he's had. So you got to give Canelo a lot of credit. He's very marketable. He's exciting in the ring. And if he beats Bivol, which is another great challenge for Canelo, it's going to be a huge fight with Triple G now as a unified champion, and then Canelo, if he comes off a win with B-Ball and everything that he's done since the Triple G fights, it's going to be a huge fight.
What kind of chances do B-Ball have of upsetting, spoiling everything for them?
With B-Ball?
Yeah.
B-Ball is a great fighter. I just don't see him being able to deal with Canelo's hand speed, his movement, his defense. I think Canelo, like I said, has really elevated his game from everything that he learned in the Triple G fights.
Yeah, what has Gennady changed? Has he changed anything at all? Maybe the way he does certain things since the Canelo fight, maybe things that he felt he had to tighten up or do differently. Has he changed anything at all?
Well, as an older fighter, you know, the second Canelo fight was already 3 years ago, now coming on 4 years. So as an older fighter, you train differently. Jonathan Banks, you know, takes that into account. You know, Jonathan trained Vladimir Klitschko as Vladimir was hit 40. So Jonathan's very familiar with training older fighters like that, and was very successful also with Vladimir after Emmanuel passed away. So he tweaks a few things, a little more boxing, maybe a little bit more on the inside, less sparring. As you get older and you have the experience already that Triple G has, you don't need the rounds of sparring that you did when you're a younger fighter, and you don't want that wear and tear on your body. So there's definitely different things that he's doing training now, and you know, he's got the same experience in having 24 rounds with Canelo in the ring. I think the first fight was pretty clear, Triple G winning, and the second fight, Canelo changed up, you know, came forward, and Triple G boxed more in the second fight, so it looked like he was backing up more than he was in the first fight. So we'll see what tactics JB and Triple G come up with if that fight happens this year.
And like you said, Gennady is older. This fight, like Canelo said, it probably has to take place at 168. Is Gennady okay with that? Do you think that's actually going to help him, being that he's the older guy? He's been at 160 his entire career.
Gennady has no problem fighting at 168. He always said if there's a big fight at 168, he would move to 168. You know, when the possibility of fighting Carl Froch at Wembley Stadium, 90,000 people. That would have been an exciting fight at 168, an interesting fight for him. You know, a huge fight like that, and you know, fighting Canelo at 168 is, again, it's a huge fight. So if there was a bigger fight at 168 than there was at 160, like this Murata fight was a huge fight in he just unified, but this Canelo fight's on a different level, and at 168, I think you'll see an even stronger Triple G at 160.
And that just kind of brings up the exchange you had with Andre Ward about at the time when he could have fought Gennady at 168, 160. On that exchange, I don't think anyone's got your thoughts. It's still something that the fans really are interested in.
I respect Andre. I just don't like when he puts out a narrative that we turned down the offer. It was first he said 30 minutes, and then it was 5 minutes, and they sent the offer once we had the David Lemieux fight already announced. It was a unification fight at Madison Square Garden, sold out Madison Square Garden. It was on HBO pay-per-view, and then he was guaranteed the winner of Cotto and Canelo. So you're not going to give up that opportunity to go to 168, and sure, it would have been a great fight at 168, but the timing was totally off, and for them to even send the offer to make the excuse, okay, well, Triple G turned down a fight at 168, so we're going to move up to 175. You know, he was a big 168 pounder anyway, and he hadn't fought for like 2 years at 168 when they made that offer. So I didn't put a lot of credence in it. If Triple G didn't have one of those big fights already scheduled, could have been something to look at, but it was much bigger fights out there at 160 pounds.
That's one of those fights in sport that unfortunately we never got, that the fans, they still want to this date. And
that would have been a great fight. I'm not saying boxing wise, I'm not saying it wouldn't have been a great fight. It would have been a very competitive fight, not taking anything away from Andre's skills. His commentating, I think he does a great job commentating, but you know, when the first time that could have happened, which a lot of people don't know and which wasn't publicized, is when he fought Edwin Rodriguez. I told HBO Triple G would fight him at 168 pounds because it was known that they were going to offer Rodriguez $1 million. So for $1 million back then for Triple G, that was a lot of money. Move up to 168, but then they chose Rodriguez because that was an easier fight for him, and he was coming off of that shoulder surgery. Remember, Andre had promoter problems, he had injury problems, so he wasn't like the most active guy that he could keep up with Triple G's schedule. And then by the time they made the offer, Then he moved to 175
Are you
after that.
surprised that there's still this much interest and that Andre Ward will acknowledge it, and then naturally you have to have your response to it, and just overall the interest that there's still in that
Surprised.
fight?
Look, all Andre said, I think it was something like, it was actually on his birthday, and one of the fans said, which fights do you wish would have happened? And all he would have had to say was, I think he said like Anthony Joshua and one other fight, and then Triple G. But then he put it, Triple G turned it down in 5 minutes. So that was the part that just didn't really add up on our side.
Well, he's retired now, but I mean,
Retired,
if the money was right, just from the outside looking in, do you think Andre Ward would still be interested in that kind of big fight? I know the fans still mention him. Even for Canelo, they might feel that Andre Ward is the only threat to Canelo because of his style or whatnot.
I think David Benavidez is a big threat to Canelo,
David's
for
a
sure.
big threat.
Look, Andre's retired. I don't know why he gets in those exchanges. He should be happy to spend time with his family. Like I said, he's got a great commentary career. I think he does excellent with that. So I don't know why he kind of throws those little barbs at Triple G. What we did with Triple G was phenomenal. You know, on pay-per-view, he sold over 1 million pay-per-view buys. Sold out the Garden. He shattered the record at StubHub Center, which Andre fought at also. And Triple G, I think, sold a guy from Kazakhstan in his first fight in California, like doubled or tripled the amount of tickets that they had for the for Andre's fight there. So, you know, we just had him on a whole different level for marketing and promotion, and frankly, he was a lot more exciting in the ring.
Yeah. Last thing I gotta ask you about the Klitschko brothers in Ukraine, defending their home country. You know them very well. You worked with them throughout their whole career. So your thoughts on what's going on over there with them? Have you talked to them lately? Are they okay? Is everything
I messaged Vladimir on his birthday and exchange thoughts, and I always tell him my thoughts and prayers are with him and Vitaly. I mean, if anyone can do it, him and Vladimir Vitaly can do it. I mean, they have the hearts and courage of a lion. Putin has a much bigger military, but the Ukrainian people, and they're motivating the people to stay and to fight for their country. All they need is weapons. That's what they said from the beginning. It's like, we'll fight. You don't have to send anyone here. We just need the weapons to defend ourselves. And they're doing a heck of a job. I think they're doing a lot better than what a lot of people anticipated. You know, being able to push the Russian army away from Kiev and defend their cities. So our hearts and prayers go with not only the Klitschko brothers, but with the Ukrainian people. I have a lot of friends over there. I've been there over 10 times to Ukraine, and you know, it's you get sad when you think about it, because Ukraine was such a beautiful country, and what you see, some of the pictures of some of the cities totally flattened, and what the atrocities that they did to the civilians there is really unthinkable in this day and age.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate the time, Tom. Like always, a pleasure talking
Good to talk to
you.
you.